Tuesday after MLK Day, and I promise you all we get with our PastorS Roundtable today. And today is our MLK edition because, hey, we still celebrate MLK, whether it's the official holiday or not. So many wonderful events happened around the city and in Middle Tennessee starting last week. And I have my friend and our resident expert, Dr. Cornelius Hill, with us this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Lady SHAUNTEÉ. Can I use a new word? Fantabulous?
Yeah.
Fantastic and fabulous. We'll blend the two together. I'm fantabulous.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful. Well, I know with you, always being pastor, but also being very active in the community and also being an HBCU graduate. And I'm sure that MLK and Martin Luther King Jr., his life, his legacy, and the ongoing celebrations mean something to you.
Most definitely. Actually, growing up in Winchester, Tennessee, a small rural town in Tennessee, south. If you leave here, go 24 east, before the mountains, before Atlanta.
Okay.
That's where I'm on the other side of the mountain.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So growing up MLK, got to go back to great aunts who were advocates in the NAACP. Remember NAACP?
They still around. They still around. They just got a new president, actually.
We do.
In Nashville.
Yeah. Shout out to Vanita.
Yes, Vanita Lewis.
Vanita Lewis, and we pray for that. She can help spark some fire. And I'm gonna just stay right there for a minute. Let me make this point. So, growing up NAACP, growing up Black Baptist, growing up in church, growing up HBCU, you were just entrenched with the iconic classic figure, Dr. MLK, and others, of course. And actually, his father and his son came to my town when I was a little boy and spoke.
Dr. King.
His father, he was,
right.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So Dr. King's
Daddy
father,
King. Daddy King.
And MLK the third.
Yeah, came to the town and were guest speakers for an MLK celebration. So that was like, oh my God, we can touch them.
Yeah,
they were touchable.
Mm-hmm.
We could feel them and see them. So, that left a mark on us, our community, which is a good thing.
I actually had a chance some years back to interview Dr. Bernice King, his daughter.
Yeah.
And I just remember being in her presence, and I was thinking, like, you're somebody I read about in my history book. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here speaking with her, and she's very involved, obviously in the community as well as her father was, but she was just talking about her mentorship programs and things like that. And one thing she brought up that I never thought about was, because I was raised in a single parent home as well. And I said,
right, she was.
You're right. I mean, that
to
generally.
gun violence.
But, right.
Like,
when you say it like that, it's
yeah.
like, you did. And she said, yeah, my mom was a single parent, and I'm like, and she said, most people don't think about that because it's almost like you hear so much about Dr. King when it comes to civil rights and Black history. It's almost like he's still here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you just don't think about the impact on his family, and that was just something that stood out to me,
Right. So you're right. When you said it the way you just said it, and that's what made me say gun violence, not to just butt in, but it's like, gun violence. There are so many facts I guess we could develop on our talk today about King, knowing that he suffered from mental illness.
He suffered from mental illness?
Yes, Dr. King.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Oh no, he tried to check out of here.
I didn't know that part. I'm not
people don't. And I'm
People
positive.
don't.
And anybody can call in 645-242-7760. His grandmother died.
Yes.
And they said he just could not take it. And he tried to check out of here from the grief.
Yeah.
So, before, this is his teenage years.
Yeah.
So a lot of, and once again, going back to mental health and how, I'm not going to say we missed it. We just wasn't trained in the area that we are now to support what happened. But his grandmother, I'm like, like mine.
Yeah. And then in the civil rights, era, I mean, we were kind of so used to trauma anyway.
Trauma informed.
Everywhere, all the time. It was almost like, part of life, or it was a part of life.
Yeah.
And so, we definitely weren't equipped as we are today in the world of information.
Mm. So you brought up something, and we're still on the Kingian holiday. So you take Dr. King, who's 3 generations from slavery.
Yeah.
2.5, 3 maybe. That's trauma.
Yeah.
To grow up in where he grew up, all his life was trauma. Then to get involved in the civil rights movement, which is more trauma.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 4 to 5, 6 generations of him, 3 before him and 3 after him, are just trauma informed. Like that weighs heavy on the soul.
Yeah.
And even when you say you talked to Dr. Bernice, it's like she grew up in a single parent house. No, you didn't. Yes, she did.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And then had to grow up under the
spotlight.
Of who her father was.
Yeah.
Saying that sometimes, even with athletes, it's interesting when you have a father that's just that icon to come behind him or her.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson's kids, they don't make music.
Right. They made his kids, but I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I digress
she's
for
funny.
real. I'm sorry.
She's funny today, y'all. She just slipped that in there. Y'all. Did y'all hear that? She just slipped that in there. Okay. Lisa Marie, God bless her soul.
Oh, yeah, so sad.
She's not making music. When you have those icons, Michael Jordan's children, they don't play basketball. I mean, they did, but what do you do when you have such an iconic, classic figure, father, grandfather? What's the next for you? I like what Bernice is doing, and I know she's still in ministry and she does a lot of things. But when we talk about King, the man, the legend, I mean, we don't talk about him being a parent, but he was a parent.
Yeah, he was a man all the way
First.
around. Yeah.
First.
Yeah, an extraordinary man with a high calling, and I had a chance to attend a couple of the events last week, and it's just, I think it's something that I know we're going to continue to do, but I just hope more people understand why they celebrate, not just for a day off, but really participate in whether it's volunteering, giving back, a day of service. I was interviewing someone about one of the events, and she said it's not a day off, it's a day on.
Oh, wow.
What I mean? And find a way to really celebrate his life. And then on social media as well, you see a lot of people who, I would say in today's world, they are pushing policy quite opposite to what Dr. King stood for. I'll just put it like that.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of chatter online. Don't try to, prop him up and grandstand as though you really, celebrate his life when everything you're doing right now in your life is to counter, the things that he fought for and stood for so long. So, it's just interesting seeing both dynamics, but, I'm just, super excited for our progress. I know we still have a long way to go because, things are still happening. But, how would you encourage somebody, even though MLK Day was yesterday, how would you encourage your congregation or someone to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King?
Wow. Great question.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened Sunday. So, of course, every Sunday school class had their lesson and then had to do a spotlight or tribute to him.
Okay.
This blessed me. Theologically and philosophically, it might not fit everybody's fancy. A young lady says, what are some of the characteristics of King and Jesus? They generated his list. Mm-hmm. And her final remarks was this. And then I almost took the house down. We get old shouting Baptist people.
Yeah. She
said, Jesus died for our sins. King died for our freedoms.
Aww.
Right. This comes from a teenager.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
Oh yeah. But you know, it almost took us in Sunday school. That almost took us out.
Yeah.
That she made the connection. You know, that their deaths were valid.
Yeah.
And they were valuable people, and they add value to the culture. Saying that to say this, we actually had our volunteer day yesterday, and our church was able to go out and do what we do every year on that day. And a lot of people came back, and they were truly blessed by the experience of just sharing a day on, not a day off. I like that. A lot of testimonials were given within group chats, how this just gave them so much
Purpose.
Yes, like, oh my God, just the pizzazz, the purpose, everything that they could just give and took the time to give. And here it is, we're doing it just for a day at our church. I mean, you know, we do it annually. And we do it always, you know, something, but you know, don't let the left hand know the right hand is doing, etc. But for the people to be engaged in the experience of giving, it really was an eye-opener for some, or all of them. How do I encourage individuals to stay in the spirit of just King? We do it daily, though, Lady SHAUNTEÉ. I mean, we on here daily, you know. Then, you know, we go back and forth with our buddy on Crazy Monday. So, you know, it keeps you grounded. I think people need to get a sense of what service is truly like and giving to others before you give to self. And we understand all of the things, the countercultural things that are going on now, and how people, can I use this, prostitute the person of King? Now we're having more conversation around that now. When we didn't, you know, when we were growing up, you know, it was, I have a dream. Everybody remember the I have a dream speech. We stood up in school, we rallied, you know, we sat down, But now, you know, piggybacking off something you said, people are so countercultural. King. And what does that leave the church? You know, because these other liberals, is that the word I want to use? Lefts, the left group, and liberals have taken the civil rights mantra, which is just not King, and turned it to their advantage, which is, that wasn't his agenda, nor the agenda of our forefathers. But now it has become the agenda of the left, if you will allow me to say that.
I agree,
we're having a conversation around that now. Even pastors. Like, okay, y'all, we have this iconic figure who we deemed as we own him. He owned us. Great. It's love, tit for tat. But now the conversations are coming up, and this is just one. How has the church continued that legacy and fight for social justice? Number one. Or how has the church, you know, waned in her fight for social justice?
That's a good conversation. We definitely gonna have to have.
Oh, you want to have that?
Yeah, well, not now.
We don't have time. Time is of the essence. But you know,
but it's important because some churches are a lot more involved in that than others, and you know that is a good discussion of what compels one ministry over another. I mean, every church I think has, you know, different callings, different areas of the body that they cater to. Right. So, you know, that's understandable. But, you know, you do see certain churches who are very involved and very intentional about civil rights, social justice, and then you see some who, you know, maybe and a little more intentional about another area.
You're so right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, we having the conversations, and here's the crazy thing: as a leader, we're still divided on so many. Even those questions, we're still divided. King, the domesticated king. That's what we're saying now. When we paint this picture of a king who was domesticated, and that's not to say anything bad, but in his day, King was considered, you know, a threat to American justice and democracy.
Yeah,
he was right. But we paint the picture today like he was just the good Samaritan to the powers that be, the good old bureaucratic structure. And we know that was not the case.
Yeah, he wasn't perfect.
We talk, you know, not the perfection pieces, but the fact that here's a man who we have boulevards and streets named after and etc. But guess what? When he was living, he was on the hit list. He was on America's hit list. And the latter part of King's life, and this is where our Monday buddy and I just totally disagree. He was out for reparations. People forget that. Like he wanted, King was very articulate. Now you could not argue him. I mean, let's just be honest. He was very articulate, and he had this great, speech. It was promulgated to the P, girl, on why his people should receive reparations. I'm not on that right now. We'll talk about that later too. But King, to be kinging, is what we call it now, is a lot of schools have a doctoral degree or studies just on King himself, which is, an enormous feat. Here's a man that America didn't tolerate it. And now there are total studies around his life.
Now they embrace. So the moral of the story today as we wrap up is, we want people to continue, the legacy of Dr. King, through whatever avenue that you have, if you have a microphone, speak about it. If you are in the community, be about it. Whatever you can do, to continue the work where you are is the message today, because we celebrate, one day around the country, and there are events that happen leading up to that, but what happens the next day, and as they are constantly trying to pull Dr. King's message and history, period, in terms of Black history, out of school, out of curriculum, it's our job to keep the information, to keep, the legacy alive, so that it's not forgotten and that it continues to be celebrated and we continue to carry the torch. So thank you so much, Dr. Cornelius Hill. I got it right now. I address you properly.
Listen,
I appreciate you, and as always, thank you so much for your time. Where can people follow you, and maybe they're looking for a church home?
Good morning again to the greater Nashville area. In Nashville, you can follow me at Cornelius A. Hill Facebook, Hill Cornelius Twitter. You can follow me at Cornelius A. Hill on YouTube, RNA Hill Instagram. You can come to the Ephesian Primitive Baptist Church, 1506. That's 1506 22nd Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee, 37208, in the heart of the eclectic North Nashville community. Our worship services are at 8:30. Sunday school to follow at like 9:40, and the 11 o'clock worship hour on Sunday, 12 noon Bible study on Wednesday, and 6 p.m. Bible study on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we have a prayer call, 302-202-1106, 780-746 #. You can be encouraged. Shantae's like, how do you remember?
Ain't nobody remember that. But you have a website.
We have, yes.
Okay.
Just go to the website, Ephesian Primitive Baptist Church, and you can find all the information needed and necessary.
All right, very good. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.